for you. Freedom is just a hallucination. Freedom is just a hallucination. It's just a pathological lack of paranoia. Now the question isn't whether you're paranoid, it's whether you're paranoid enough. 365 days a year, they've got your face on the CCTV. You think you're watching TV, but TV is watching you. They know what you TiVoed. You're watching me, I'm watching you, they're watching us. It's like two giant eyes in outer space. I'm not making this shit up. Every time you use your ATM card, your credit card, it goes into an automated consumer database. Oh, they know what you bought. They know what you buy. They know what you bought at the pharmacy. It's like a goddamn viral disease. They know what you ate, where you ate. They probably got a chip in your goddamn dog. They probably have a chip in your goddamn dog. You know, the first things that had RFID chips were actually Max Factor lipstick and Levi jeans. It doesn't surprise me. Your phone is tapped. The internet is tracked. Your driver's license has a chip. The Patriot Act, biometric fingerprints, full body scans. It's weird because every time I go through the airport, it shows up like I've got a metal plate in my head. I'm like, don't read my fucking mind. Don't read my thoughts. Improved Border Patrol. I know you feel safe. I mean, you must feel safe. You must feel safe because this is the only state in the union where somebody complained about all the spying that's going on. Rand Paul, he did one good thing. Do you feel safe? You're not fucking safe. No matter how much the natural resource exploitation by private companies and armed factions continue to provide the incentives and by all means necessary, the military control over the slaves in labor camps who break their backs and risk their lives mining for conflict minerals. You have been conned. All your mod cons, you have been conned. Oh, you got a smartphone, your iPad, your iPod. All chipped. Smartphone. Oh, they're real smart. They're tracking everything you do. Thank you, Google, Yahoo. Look, Facebook. I was never on that shit. I'm not on it now. I don't use Twitter. I'm waiting for Aspic. I'm a fucking twat. I don't use Twitter because why? You're being surveyed. They've got you conned. And I love the way that Apple, everyone loves their Apple products. Oh, it's so cool, man, yeah. You know, last year they made $108 billion, which is more than all of us, as a matter of fact, all of Kentucky will make in their fucking lifetimes. By trafficking in consumer electronics with a limited shelf life. It's so great how they always break down after 2 years. Buy another one. Where's my smartphone? Can't live without it. It's killing you. Can't live with it. What I'm waiting for, it's gonna be so much easier in 2 years. Thank you, the US government. Databases the size of the Pentagon in Utah. They've got a Pico programmable laser reader. So from now on at the airports, there's not gonna be any more scanners. They're gonna be able to molecularly read the last time you did cocaine or smoked a joint or did cognac. I'm not making this shit up. Good evening, I'm Lydia Lunch. Thanks for coming out, although it was free. I left this fine country when George Bush decided to steal the second election. And I've been living in Barcelona for the past 8 years, but I'm gonna be here now part-time. A lot of this footage by Elise Pasavantes from Spain. This is a poem I wrote there. It's called Sandpit. It pretty much describes my state of mind. How long would it take for for you to walk yourself to death? Would you shoot a hole in your own hand and drink your own blood if the only sign of life left was what remained of your own? I would. I know that escape is essential. I always flee to avoid capture, to temporarily outrun retribution. I strive to calculate the distance of miles between the past and the future. I know it's a futile attempt to manipulate the time I will spend stuck forever in this permanent limbo. I know that freedom, is a solitary state of grace. I know that it's an oasis sitting somewhere off in the twilight horizon where the shackles that bind have been blown to bits by the bull end of a Tommy gun. But is anyone ever truly free? Anyone ever truly be free? If you can't outrun your own shadow, if you can't kill off your own bitter memories and brutal delusions. You know, I feel as if I inhabit this insomniac's theater of dream states and nightmares, and I'm haunted by an army of vagrant ghosts and invisible enemies who stalk and make ruin everything in your wake. And the desert, which is where I've been living, Spain is the desert. The desert speaks to the fugitive in me. The desert speaks to the fugitive in me, that godless gunman, isolated, alone. I know that I'm just in a twilight hell of my own making, that I feel as if I'm eternally hunting, like some kind of mysterious apparition with a burning desire. Believe me when I say to obliterate everything and everyone. Some days I just feel like a one-man holocaust of infinite destruction. And I would, if I could, paint the landscape not blood red, but burnt umber, a patina which speaks of the absence of life, of desolation, of the empty husk of an eternal hollow, that barren panorama from which all life has been leached. I sometimes wake up and I just feel like a man, a murderer, alone, imprisoned by thought, hounded as if by locusts, a numbing din, a subterranean rumble, a lifetime of despicable secrets, murmuring forever just out of earshot. And I know that I am that man, that ruin. I'm ruptured, and I'm a magnificent wreck, a mirage, located somewhere far south of no north, and in this enticing envelope of devil winds. If I look to you as I truly am, you would no longer be able to see me, because I would have been blown away. I would have been blown away by the devil winds. I would have been turned back into dust, into that battlefield where I am pitted against myself. How long would it take to walk yourself to death? Body, find the body, find the body. I'll never find his body. I saw him first. I saw him first in the post office. His face was just a blurry stain on a yellow sheet of paper. It said wanted for, but I can't remember what he was wanted for, but I know that I wanted him. I wanted him before I knew it was him that I wanted. It was like getting lost in a film loop. It was like a lock groove. It was like maybe I've just seen one too many late night black black and white film noirs like Nightmare Alley, like Naked City, like Gun Crazy, Double Indemnity, The Fugitive Kind. Vengeance is mine. Vengeance is mine. It was like an ideal reflection. He thought I was an ideal reflection of who he thought I was, mirrored in the drowning pools of his own eyes. He had beautiful eyes, which lie like my own eyes, beautiful eyes, which lie as I drain them of everything except for heat and desire. And he was like a hungry orphan. He was seeking relief in my cruel smile, and my lips were twisting around a man who he thought was him, but was merely a projection of me. My lips were twisting around a man who he thought was me, but was merely a projection of me, of my need, my greed, my loneliness. And I remember a time. I remember when he was reinventing himself again and again, picking up the derelict pieces of shattered dreams and making peace with the empty promises and endless threats before his violence and malevolence was a magnetic firestorm of fun, a spontaneous combustion of bloodlust and mistrust. He was like a punch-drunk bruiser, shadow boxing in the dark, punching shadows and raping ghosts. He was hell-bent on murdering that invisible enemy inside him, but the enemy inside of me has a mind of her fucking own. The enemy inside of me has a mind of her fucking own, and before I knew it, my hands were around his throat, and his neck was broken in 3 different places. Maybe I've just seen one too many late-night black and white film noirs. Maybe I was just lost in a lot group. It was like lost in a lot group. It was like Nightmare Alley. Gun Crazy. Firewalk with me. Rope. It was like vengeance is mine. Vengeance is mine. And there comes a point where the more you know, the less you comprehend. Yeah, and where nothing seems to make sense anymore. You're beyond reason, because what you once were is no longer what you are. So what sense do you make of that? I saw him first in the post office. His face, it said wanted. You could be next. You could be next. You could be the next one. Cut into, vivisected, and left on the side of some derelict road because some sick and twisted little mama's boy can no longer get it up anymore on the flesh and bones alone, but he needs the blood. He needs the blood. He needs the lifeblood. Oh, and I can understand. I can understand the need to slaughter. I can understand the need to murder. Oh, I can understand the need to slaughter, but why is it always the daughters? Why is it always the sons and daughters of the original criminals, the mothers and fathers that condemn men to murder in the first place, that get slaughtered? I know the little boys don't start out thinking that they want to grow up to be madmen and maniacs. And maybe they were just carrying on in the family tradition. I know that maybe some boys were abandoned as little children and left with a babysitter who was stoned on acid and finger fucking herself off in the next room while talking to her boyfriend on the telephone while mommy and daddy or daddy's replacement, or daddy dearest were down at the local bar getting shit-faced so that they could come home and batter into submission and castration. All the little boys that didn't want to grow up to be monsters, didn't want to grow up to be madmen, but were just carrying on in the family tradition. And I understand. I understand that when you batter a boy, he becomes a man who batters others. I understand that when you neglect your sons, you're killing some part of them. When you neglect your sons, they're gonna do an absolutely atrocious act of unmitigated violence to make sure they get your fucking attention. I understand that some boys feel like they were born to be battered. But they were born to be battered and they can take it. Oh, they can take it because they were trained to take it, to not cry, to act like a man. Oh, they were trained to act like a man. They feel like they can take it because they can take it, and then they start to dish it out. And then they start to dish it out. And that's why it's always men. It's always men that grow up to become serial killers, politicians, pedophiles, schoolyard snipers whose sense of self was probably castrated on the football field. So yeah, little boys who probably spent half their life neglected and disappeared playing video games with names like Grand Theft Auto, Gods of War, Soldier of Fortune, Mortal Kombat, Manhunt, which have programmed their motor functions, or they've programmed their motor functions to pull the fucking trigger. Pull the trigger! Pull the fucking trigger. That's what happened in West Paducah, Kentucky, Springfield, Oregon, Jonesboro, Arkansas, Moses Lake, Washington, Virginia Tech, Columbine, Newton Creek. Sacrificial lost lambs suicided by society. They're only killing themselves. They only want to kill themselves. They only want to kill themselves when they murder everybody else because they can't stand it anymore because nobody is listening. I understand the need to fucking murder, but why is it always the daughters and sons of the mothers and fuckers that condemn men to murder in the first place? Some days I feel like the laziest bitch in the whorehouse. Some days I just feel like the laziest bitch in the whorehouse. Legs spread wide, lucky strike dangling from my cock-stained scarlet lips. Eyes of the alarmed blind. At this kind of somnambulant throb, it reminds me with every passing pulsation that I imagine my funeral procession is going to be a century-long samba littered with the hundreds of beautiful soldiers who had come to soil my battlefield with their heavy artillery. You know, the kind of guys that know how to bang into you like bullets fired at point-blank range. And I can see myself now anointed with the hot molten lead, probably mingling with blood, and calm my eyes will probably be heavy with morphine, cocaine, MDMA, or madness. Throw in a little fireball if you would, or even bullet bourbon. Minds swill drunk on the uncountable contaminants whose steady diet I have feasted on for fucking decades as a tribute to my own survival of the sickest. You know, some nights, you know all about it. Here are meant to be wasted, right? Some nights are meant to be wasted. Some decades are meant to be wasted. I saw the best minds of my generation scoring dime bags of dope on Avenue D. Their sickness, no different than their genius. Their genius, part of their disease, and they'd always say the same thing, and it's between passing out and puking, waking up and nodding off and said that some second that just goes on forever. And don't tell me that you've never woken up with a hangover the size of the Mississippi. You like to drink a lot here. I know that you know what I'm saying when I talk about a hangover the size of the Mississippi. I know that you must have woken up some days feeling broken down, busted up, and kicked down the wrong side of Nightmare Alley, feeling like you were probably spent the whole night digging that ditch. You spent your whole life digging. And I'm not claiming that I'm any better, but the next time somebody asks you why'd you get so fucking drunk last night, you can just quote me and say, you know what, I fucking felt like it. That's why you got so fucking drunk, huh? That's what we did. Between art, sex, eating, we drank. Something about all those late nights lost. I spent a lot of late nights lost in that haunted no man's land, stranded on the corner of Sunset and Occidental, the ghosts of all those that could have been, should have been, leave a Vaseline smeared lipstick smudge on the rearview mirrors, busted glass. Some nights I feel as lonely as one left shoe with a busted ankle strap tossed out the window of the Starlight Motel. There is no drug, no drink potent enough. There is no drug, no drink potent enough to burn out that vision of him. He's like a faded hologram. His kiss is burnt into my lips. He had that soured tumbleweed of honeyed hair that smelled of dirty sex and cigarettes, and I keep reaching for his mouth, forgetting about how the night bled out, turning an angel into a beautiful corpse. I keep forgetting that he's just a mirage. He's just a mirage. Haunting me. He slowly rises like a desert rat, crawling on all fours. I imagining him summoning the strength of dead men everywhere. He brushes up against me. He slinks into me. He's in my skin. I move my lips in protest, but all words have turned to dust. My bones are hollow. I have a soft spot for him. I have a soft spot for him. Kisses on the razors. Kisses on the razors. Kisses on the razors. Joy whispers. He has lips as thin as paper cuts. He's mouthing instructions which I will fight with all my will. He's telling me to pick up the snub nose. Pick up the snub nose. A small caliber 45. Cool evening breeze kisses dirty feet. My tongue is swollen, preventing argument against his hypnotic pull. He pulls at me. He's just a mirage. He's just a mirage. Crushing. Caretaker to the endless obsidian night, that grave digger of crushed dreams. He's like some kind of mortician's reanimator of broken hearts. He's smells of dirty sex and cigarettes. That sour tumbleweed. I keep reaching for his mouth, forgetting about how the night bled out, turning an angel into a beautiful corpse. Just for lunch. Just for lunch. It's for the ghosts of Belchite, Badajoz, Barcelona, Toledo, Mataró. This is for the dead dying. This is for the dead and dying. This is for the widows and orphans. This is for the war-torn and battle-fatigued. This is for the war-torn and battle-fatigued. This is for the warriors. This is for the warriors. This is for the warriors. This is for the warriors who are willing to die. This is for the warriors who are willing to die for their beliefs, because they believe it is better to die fighting for freedom than to lead a life enslaved by lies. This is for those who believe. This is for those who believe, and you better believe, you better believe, you better believe in ghosts. You better believe in ghosts, because soon enough, you too will become a ghost. This is for the ghosts of Fallujah, Anbar Province, Abu Ghraib, Bakuba, Guantanamo, Gaza, Beirut, Baghdad, Kabul, Kandahar, Jalalabad, Islamabad, Kathmandu, Mogadishu, Darfur, Sierra Leone. This is for the freedom fighters. This is for the freedom fighters. This is for the insurgents. This is for the insurgents, for the rebels and rabble-rousers, and for every individual who fights against tyranny and oppression. This is for the martyrs. This is for the martyrs. This is for Mohammed Mossadegh, Salvador Allende, Oscar Romero, Teo Van Gogh, Federico Garcia Lorca, Pasolini, Bruno Schultz, Madeleine Murray O'Hare, who began the American atheist movement. This is for the wounded and traumatized. This is for the survivors. This is for those suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome, which I feel like I am suffering every fucking day of my fucking life, man. This is for those who strive to survive. This is for anyone who tries to overcome the roadblocks and landmines, the pitfalls and setbacks, the negativity of a world which forces you to fight tooth and nail, forces you into battle mode on a daily basis, just so you can maintain a shred of your own fucking sanity after all the lies and the torture and the bullshit and the humiliation of the enemy and the brainwashing. This is for the ghosts of all of America, because we have been brainwashed. For the ghosts of Brooklyn, the Bronx, Detroit, Watts, Inglewood, Oakland, St. Louis, New Orleans, Memphis, Trenton, Youngstown, Cleveland, Camden, Baltimore, Newark, Little Rock, Tulsa, Gary, Indiana, Baton Rouge. This is for the ghosts who feel like they were born invisible in life, into a war zone of poverty and negation and neglect in a country which glamorizes violence and worships serial killers and threatens by massacre, and then arrogantly brags about gangbanging the whole fucking world into oblivion. This is for the lovers of forgetfulness. If you'd rather just forget, maybe you want to just turn a blind eye. Well, I can't fucking forget. I don't forget. I can't forget. This is for the ghost. Yeah. The widows and orphans and warriors and insurgents and rebels and rabble-rousers. It's for anyone who fights against tyranny and oppression. And most of all, it's for my ghost. It's for my ghost. And I can assure you, just like in life, I will not be silenced by death. I will not be silenced by death. as I already have been recycled, regenerated. This is nothing new. This planet is nothing new. This is as old as it gets. We're back to the fucking caves. And this is for your ghost. Because you will, too, one day, become a ghost. And what is a ghost? But electricity. Energy. Matter. A ghost is emotion. A ghost is too much emotion. Oh, maybe I'm already a fucking ghost. A ghost is too much emotion. All creation bears the molecular memory of a terrible explosion of white light and white heat. I understand violence because I feel like violence was the first act of creation. Violence was the first act of creation. The big fucking bang, man. Yeah. Chaos is the law of nature. Chaos is the law of nature. It is the score upon which reality is written. The universe is just geometry stricken with epilepsy, and I am simply a convulsionary. I'm simply a convulsionary suffering from episodic fits of frenzy. I'm not the first one to say whoever creates demands destruction. To some of us, many of us, violence is as natural as breathing. Violence is as natural as breathing. I mean, we're conceived in a passionate act of animal violence. We are born baptized in blood. Our first cry is slapped out of us. Chaos is the law of nature. And the way that I see it, I mean, Mother Nature herself is extremely violent. Mother Nature is extremely violent. She's becoming more violent against the men that are doing her violence. Mudslides, monsoons, typhoons, tornadoes, cyclones, hurricanes, floods, droughts, forest fires, famines. Mother Nature is getting pretty fucking pissed off. Yeah. Maybe she's just sick of being gang raped by a criminal cabal of dirty old men who get off on screwing over the entire planet as they suck the juice out of a hole in her sacred ground. And I admit it, the American way of life. The American way of life has turned me into a death-defying murder junkie, man. I'm fucking high. I'm high. I'm drunk. I'm drunk on disasters, calamities, casualties, bombs bursting in air. It's the American way of fucking life, man. Yeah, rifles ricocheting off the bellies of pregnant women, crippled children, poisoned on a school bus, cities crumbling beyond repair, bridges collapsing, endless war, 800 military bases. Man, it's the American way of life. I mean, the whole world's gone wild, right? The whole world's gone wild. I mean, it's a wild world. It's a wild world. Oh, baby, baby, it's a wild world. The whole world is gone wild. They turned the whole world into a ghetto. The world is a ghetto. Yeah, they got that right. A whorehouse, an orphanage, a refugee camp, a sweatshop, a slaughterhouse, a bomb factory, a landmine, a butcher shop, a shooting gallery, an insane asylum, a gas chamber, a toxic fucking dump, man. And all the killers are heroes. All the killers are heroes. All my heroes are killers, yeah. All my heroes are killers. I mean, I myself am filled with a murderous rage. Don't get me wrong, I myself am filled with a murderous rage. Yeah. It's like gang warfare is being waged under my skin. It's like a battle of bitches just trying to box their way out. I mean, I have become the rapist. I feel like I have become the rapist whose impotence at annihilating the real killers is making me turn very violent against myself and anybody else who gets in my fucking way. And if it sounds hostile, I can assure you, I am fucking hostile. I'm holding it all together, man. I am holding it all together. Trust me on that. I'm just passionate. I'm like a passion killer. Yeah, I'm a passion killer. I'm just too fucking passionate. I'm a passion killer riddled with criminal urges. I'm a sadist. I admit it, incarcerated in my own torture chamber. You know, I mean, 1 minute you're flesh and bones, the next minute you're flesh and blood, piles of flesh and blood. I mean, it's because I've gotten inside the enemy's head. I've gotten inside the enemy. The enemy's gotten inside my head. I'm sleeping in his fucking bed. My war. It's not my fucking war. My war. You're one of my relations. You're my friend. My war has always been the battle of sex as an animal act, fucked up by your emotions. I look at it this way, hey, the more they kill, the more I fuck. The more they kill, the more I fuck. That's right. My womb, a tomb, a sacrificial cunt. Here, there you go. Here. My war has always been the battle of sex as an animal act. Fought one woman against every man, hand to gland. You're either with me or you're against me, right? I mean, you want to fight or you want to fuck. Either way, you're going to get fucking hurt. Welcome to my church. Welcome to my church. And there's only one commandment. Rebellion from false virtue. Ecstasy at the mouth of the apocalypse. Pleasure at the brink of war. Because I must find ecstasy in the war whore's insane, homicidal rant. Endless war. The non-stop killing. Welcome to my church. Thank you. Give yourself a hand for being alive. I'm still here. Oh yeah. Let's hear it for ourselves. Still alive. Still alive. I'd like to close with this piece because a lot of us at this moment seem to have people that are in a lot of pain and are dying. It's always a time of death. I mean, people are always dying. And what do you say to somebody? What can you say to somebody that you know only has 30 days to live? I mean, what could you say? So I wrote this eulogy for all of us because I didn't know what to say either. I mean, what can you say to somebody that only has 30 days to live? That in this, the land of illusion, that we're just transitional creatures, that we're just peeping toms at the keyhole of all eternity, that the past is just the present, cloaked by invisibility, and the future is just a murmur of a memory that we will never possess. That the great mystery is not that we were thrown down here at random between the profusion of matter and that of the stars, but that from our fleshy prison we have actually devised and created images powerful enough to deny our nothingness, that we have actually, some of us, forced our words and our music and our painting and our art into the mouth of the universe, this giant black hole turned inside out. I mean, many of us have tales of madness and lust. Yeah, that's what you need to fill it with, madness and love. After all, I mean, we come spinning out of nothingness, scattering stars. We're like lost in this galaxy, tucked away in a forgotten corner of an unfathomable expanse. We come spinning out of nothingness, praying that one day, someday, there lies somewhere an incredible lightness of being where everything, and it will just fall away. It will just fall away. It will fall away. It will dissolve. It will dissolve into subatomic particles where sight and sound no longer matter, and we will have a comprehension of matter beyond human comprehension. We are just dust and shadow. We're just dust and shadow. We're just dust and shadow. Death is just the shadow that follows the body. What do you say to somebody that only has 30 hours to live? What can you say to somebody that only has 30 hours to live? You say, I won't forget. I won't forget. forget. I won't forget. I won't forget you. I won't forget. Do you remember? Do you remember? Do you remember how much beauty we possessed? And it almost killed us. I mean, we had so much beauty. We went for it. Yeah, we went for it. Okay, so we fought a lot. I mean, there was a lot to fight against. We fought, but we fought the good battle. You gotta fight. You gotta fight to control your life. You've got to fight to control your. We always knew who the enemy was. We knew who the enemy. In the end, the enemy is always going to win. In the end, the enemy is just death itself. It's always been one long fight against this endless death trip. It's been one fight against the killing machine and the merchants of death. You got to fight for your life. You got to fight to control your death. You got to fight to the bitter end. You got to fight against the spiritually bereft and their soul-killing bullshit because it's in the air. It's in the air. It's in the air. It's in the air. They poisoned everything. They poisoned the air. They poisoned the water. They poisoned the food. They fucking poisoned you. They poisoned you. What do you say to somebody that only has 30 minutes to live? You say, you win. Yeah, you win. You win. You win. You will be king. You will be king, for yours is the power and the glory. And this is your story. You're going to be wearing a crown of invisibility and nothing can stop you. You're free now. You're free. This is the moment you've been waiting for your whole life. You can just ride off into the sunset, both barrels blazing, laughing like a goddamn lunatic, leaving everyone and everything else behind in the dust, because we're just dust. We're just dust. Just dust and shadow. Death is just the shadow. It's just the shadow. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. What do you say to somebody that has 30 seconds to live? You say, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Take my hand. I'm right here. I'm right here. You're not going to fade away. You're going to explode. You're going to transform. You're going to be like a dark night, just riding into the endless night. Don't fear the night. Don't fear the night. Do you want to embrace the light? Go with the light. Go with the light. Go with the light. Just let go. You gotta let go. You gotta let go. You win. You will be king. You will be king. You will be wearing a crown of invisibility, for yours is the power and the glory, and this is your story. Thank you.